Okay, guys, we are going to look at a deep mystery. And as we do, I'd like you to look at this map and tell me what you see. Take a look closely at the colors and tell me what colors you see. Well, it may take a little focus, and we can do that. So if we look here, red, white, black, red, white, green, green, white, black, red, red, white, green, red, white, green, black, white, red, green. Are you noticing a pattern? Red, white, green, white, black, green, red. Even Lebanon, with a Christian population, red, white, green. Cedars of Lebanon, that's what's in their flag. So of course what we have is we have the flags of the various countries in the Middle East. Of course we have Egypt, red, white, black, and Turkey, red. Of course we haven't covered all of them, but what do we have with the first seals of the book of Revelation? A white horse, a red horse, a black horse, and a pale horse, which pale is green, if you were. Now, the reason this is a mystery is that we're going to see in the scriptures how this is related to the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, reigning. So of all these, what do you see here? You see blue. Why is it that in this country is the only country is blue and the rest is white, red, black, pale? Well, we're going to have to do some research into the scriptures to understand what this is. Now, when we look at the book of Esther, chapter 1, verse 1, we can see, now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus that reigned from India even unto Ethiopia, over 127 provinces. So this king here is a type of the Alpha and the Omega. And the border of his kingdom is from India to Ethiopia. Now, of course, this is a map of the Middle East, which is going off the screen here. But what we have is, we're going to see through the scriptures too, it's also talking about the border of the kingdom, which is the Nile. The Nile is right up here, and Ethiopia is just here. So this is the area, okay? And it's the Medo-Persian Empire. So when we say Medo-Persia, Persia is modern-day Iran, and Medes is in this area here, which is part of Turkey. So the Alpha and Omega is going to reign in his kingdom in this area. It's going to go off here. But notice how all these countries have all these colors in their flags. Why is that? And why is it that only one country in the center of the promised land described in the book of Ezekiel is blue? Well, let's keep going through the scriptures and look at why this is. Now, why is this a mystery? When we go to Daniel chapter 8, You see, we're in Daniel chapter 8 here. I encourage you to read the previous verses. For time's sake, we're going to go to verse 20. Daniel 8, verse 20. It talks about a ram which you saw having horns are the kings of Medo-Persia. Now, Medo-Persia deals with the Medo-Persian Empire. And the way we would relate that to modern times would be, sorry for the light glare, would be the Middle East, essentially. Okay? So what we have is we have a ram having two horns, which are the kings of Medo-Persia. And then verse 21 says, and a rough goat is the king of Grecia. Okay? So Greece meaning the west. So you have some Middle Eastern countries, and then you have the west. Now, we've gone through this before, but what I want to focus here is what it says in verse 8. Can you see this here? We'll try to get this so you can see it. I'll zoom in a little bit on verse 8. And it's talking about this goat, all right? And the goat grew great and was strong, and a great horn was broken into 4 notable ones towards the 4 ruach of heaven. Okay, see that? 4 winds, and this in Hebrew, winds is spirits of the heaven. Okay? Now, what is that? Well, what that is that's actually giving us a expression that we find in Zechariah chapter 6. Okay, if we go to Zechariah, we go to chapter 6, we can see there were 6:1, there were horses. The first chariot had red horses. The second chariot had black horses. Third chariot had white horses. The fourth chariot had, in the King James it says gristled or bay, which means spotted. So what do we have? We have this area and we have these colors. Okay? Now what these are representing is a geographical area. Okay? Now Islam is not the 4 horse riders. What we're looking at here is these 4 horse riders relate to the nations that are going to war for the inheritance. Okay, that's why their colors are what they are. Okay, they're in opposition to Alpha and Omega. And as we look, we can see their names. And the angel, okay, then in verse 4, I answered to the angel and I said, who are these, my Lord? And the angel answered and said to me, these are the 4 ruach of the heavens. Okay, here in English, it's in the King James, it says 4 spirits, but in the Hebrew, it's winds or ruach. It's their names, the 4 spirits of the heavens. So that's exactly what we saw in Daniel chapter 8. Now, let's go to Daniel chapter 11 and verse 1, because what we have is we have a continuation of the interpretation from the angel Gabriel. In verse 2, now I will show you the truth. Behold, there shall stand up 3 kings in Persia. Now, these are kings that are prophetic in nature, like the one we saw in Esther, right? Remember we saw him? Okay, and the 4th shall be far richer than they all, and by his strength and his riches he shall stir up against the realm of Greece. Remember before in Daniel 8 we saw Greece against that area. Now, what is this about? A mighty king shall stand up, that shall rule with great dominion and do according to his will. Well, this is Alpha and Omega when he reigns in the millennium. And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken and shall be divided towards the 4 ruach of the heavens. See that? That's our same expression that we saw. The 4 ruach, winds, the four spirits of the heavens. Well, what is that? That's white, red, black, pale. It's a geographical area. Okay? Okay, so this is the four winds of the heaven. Guys, this is the boundary of his kingdom. This is it. And that's why all of these nations are at war against him. Okay, now let's look at Revelation chapter 6 real quick and understand the order of the throne. When the Lamb opens the seal, there's a noise of thunder, and one of the four beasts, so that's the first of the four beasts. The first of the four beasts has a face of a lion. We see that in chapter 4. So the lion of the four beasts says, "Come and see." And he says, "Behold, I saw a white horse." Okay? And when he had opened the second, I heard the second beast. Well, the second beast is ox. And he says, "Come and see." And when he had, there was another horse that was red. Okay? And then when he had opened the third seal, the third, lion, ox, man. So the third one is man, come and see, and it's a black horse. And when he had opened the fourth seal, the voice of the fourth beast, which is eagle, said, "Come and see." And I looked, and there was a pale horse. So we have lion, ox, man, eagle, white, red, black, pale. Well, when we go to Jeremiah chapter 12, we get some information on these horse riders. So Jeremiah 12, verse 5 says, "When you have run with the footmen," these are soldiers, "and they have wearied you, and you have cast out and contended with the horses." So these are the horse riders. All right. And then let's go to verse 7. "I have forsaken my house. I have left my heritage." Heritage is inheritance. Okay. "I have given the dearly beloved of my soul and the land unto their enemies. My heritage is unto me as a lion." Okay, remember we saw the living creature with the lion. Okay, in the forest that cries out against, "Therefore I have hated it. My heritage is unto me as a speckled bird." That's the eagle. Okay, you can see we have all these circled here. Lion, speckled bird. "The birds round about are come against you, assembled all the beasts of the field." That's ox, right? So the same living creatures that we saw around the throne, okay, are now telling us about the promised land, the heritage, the inheritance. Okay, so we have lion, we have eagle, we have ox. Okay, "Many pastors have destroyed my vineyard. They have trodden my portion underfoot. They have made my pleasant portion a desolate wilderness." Okay, so this is judgment against the pastors. "And they've made it desolate, and desolate it mourns unto me. And the whole land is made desolate because no man lays it to heart." So now what we have, if you look here, we have lion, ox, man, eagle. Okay, giving us the order of the throne in the promised land. Okay, and then what do we see? We saw the horses. Okay, so what's the inheritance? This is the inheritance. It's this area from India, which is actually off the screen, to Ethiopia and to Egypt. Okay, now let's keep going here and read this section of Jeremiah, because this is exactly what's happening, guys. Verse 14, "Thus says the Lord against mine evil neighbors that touch my inheritance, which have caused my people Israel to inherit it. Behold, I will pluck them out of the land, and I will pluck out the house of Judah from among them. And it shall come to pass that I have plucked them, that I will return. I will have compassion on them. I will bring them again, every man to his heritage," his inheritance, "every man to his land. And shall come to pass, if they will diligently learn the ways of my people, and swear by my name, says Yahweh liveth, And they taught my people to swear by Baal. Then they shall be built in the midst of my people. But if they not obey, I will utterly pluck them up and destroy that nation. So again, we have the judgment of the nations. Now again, we can find this area in Isaiah. If we go to Isaiah and we go to chapter 11 and let's go to verse 11. Isaiah 11:11. It shall come to pass in that day that Yahweh shall set his hand a second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria. Well, Assyria is this area. And from Egypt. Here's Egypt. And from Pathros. Pathros is also Egypt. And from Cush. Cush is Ethiopia. Sudan, Ethiopia. This area here. And Elam. Elam is this portion of modern day Iran. And from Shinar. Shinar is Iraq. Here. And from Hamath. Hamath is, we're still investigating, but it's a northern place of Israel. Okay. Now, what's not on this map of Israel is the Golan Heights. Okay. This is the Sea of Galilee, this little thing here, and the Golan Heights goes beyond it. So Hamath is actually part of the land that we see in Ezekiel of the Promised Land. So Ezekiel describes the 12 tribes in the inheritance in this portion, of course, where we have the blue flag, right? Well, that's why right now there's contention over the Golan, because that's actually part of the Promised Land, okay? But let's continue here. So we have all these places: Syria, Egypt, Ethiopia, Elam, Babylon or Shinar, and Hamath, from the isles of the sea. And he shall set up an ensign of the nations and assemble the outcasts of Israel and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Remember, we saw the four winds of the earth. Okay, so the four corners of the earth and the four winds of the earth relate to the geographical area of his millennial kingdom. He's going to reign from India to Ethiopia, Egypt, Assyria, the Medo-Persia, Medes up here, and Iran is Persia. So we are drawing the line. Alpha and Omega, Isos Christos, will reign in the millennium in a promised land. We can see that is represented through the kings of Persia, the Medo-Persian Empire. And a line is being drawn. We have taken this very line. We've been to Ethiopia, we've drawn the line. We've been to Egypt, we've drawn the line. And we're here in the land of Israel drawing the line. Guys, that's why you can see clearly the war going on, the clashes for the inheritance. Okay? So, for some of you, the things we are presenting may be new. You may be unfamiliar with the horse riders, who are the four horses of the apocalypse, okay? Well, they also give us inheritance, all right? And that's what this is, the four winds of the heavens. That's what we could see in Daniel. That's what we could see in Daniel's chapters 8, 11. Their names in Zechariah chapter 6, the order of lion, ox, man, ego, in Revelation chapter 6. And there is something called the Council of Lion, Ox, Man, Ego Prophecies. So I have a video on that, which I encourage you to watch, because this is a declaration from the throne that the living creatures are revealing. They say to John, "Come and see." Okay? So when they do, they also say, "Come and see the inheritance." Okay? The inheritance, the line, the promised land. Okay? So, the Council of Lion, Ox, Man, Eagle prophecies. We do have a video on that, on the instances throughout the scriptures where you can see lion, ox, man, eagle detailed in the scriptures. As well, I encourage you to watch Who Are the Four Horses of the Apocalypse, okay? That's very important for you to understand, that we get clear information on that. Guys, I go through these scriptures in great detail and present through the scriptures the most detailed, accurate information to you. This is the promised land. He is King of Kings. He is Lord of Lords. He is going to reign for 1,000 years. So thank you for watching. As I always say, watch and pray that you be counted worthy and stand before the Son of Man.